John Morrison, Tegan Knox, Top Dollar, Swerve, Ashanti, Drake Maverick, Shane Thorne, Jackson Riker. This isn't WWE anymore, boys and girls. This is effing Game of Thrones. Just when you think you've gotten attached to a character, Red Wedding, everybody dies. Welcome to Wrestling with Egos. By the way, in case you can't tell, I'm a little pissed off about all of this. Consider this a long extended rant mode on. My name's Patrick, joined this week by my boy Brian. Brian, are you in a better mood than I am?
Well, yes, I am. I mean, the current sitch is not all wine and roses. Let's not kid anybody here.
Right.
But this is still a great time of year for me because I've said before on previous shows, we're working towards the now 3rd annual Iggy Awards. And it's the time where I like to sit down and remind myself of what is good about the world of professional wrestling. And as always, there's a lot of good about that professional wrestling that we love so much. However, we got to start off with talking about the not so good. And in some cases, the downright, are you kidding me?
Right. And before we get into that, also, obviously, want to thank you guys, as you do each and every week, for checking out the show, whether it's on YouTube, any of our podcasting platforms, Anchor, Spotify, Google, Apple, Intergalactic Radio. There's a couple others. I can't remember them. But thank you guys so much for making us a part of your wrestling entertainment for the week. It's going to be completely awesome. Yes.
Special shout out to friend of show, Brittany. I appreciate the support. She tries to check us out whenever she can. Her work schedule is hectic, but Brittany, we appreciate you very much. Continue to put the good word out there.
Thanks, Brittany. We appreciate you. You are freaking awesome. You are more awesome than my mood. You are as awesome as my mood is pissed off right now. So you know what?
I was going to say it's a low bar.
No, you're as awesome as my mood is pissed off. So that's a very high bar. But yeah, don't forget to tweet the show, Wrestling X Egos. Smash the like button, subscribe, click the bell for the notifications. Leave a comment, especially if you want to get in on the Reverend of the Rants Sermon on the Mount tonight to get into this. But as I led the show off, since we last saw you guys, 8 more names have been released due to budgetary cuts. And by the way, one of the most profitable years in WWE history. I'm going to say that again. Budgetary cuts in one of the most profitable years in WWE history. Also, translation, bullshit. Look, John Morrison, I can understand they stopped doing something with him. Tegan, don't get me wrong, all of these releases freaking blow. Even Jackson Riker, who got a lot of heat because he went very political on Twitter and rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But regardless, losing your job sucks, especially now because it's the freaking holidays. But so Tegan Knox, they just stopped doing something with her. John Morrison, same thing. Drake Maverick was only there for 24/7 title cannon fodder. Shane Thorne, never did anything with him, especially. And you know what? The boy should have been released a long time ago, just as a mercy killing from being in god awful Retribution. And then they released the other 3 members of Hit Row. And I read into this. Apparently, after B-Fab was released, AJ Francis, also known as Top Dollar, called the office and was like, "What are you guys doing? You're killing 1/4 of our act." don't worry, we'll fix it. And they fixed it by making a remixed version of their intro by essentially wiping out the first part of the rap, which was B-Fab. What got them fired was they went into the studio and recorded a brand new theme song for just the three of them.
Autonomy. No.
Went on to say, "You're booking us as a rap group. What are we supposed to do? Not rap?" So again, as I said in the show, we're now up to 80 wrestlers, by the way, 80 that have been released just in 2021 alone. What we're looking at, and I realized this over the weekend. We're looking at wrestling's version of Game of Thrones. If you never watched the show, like Brian, Game of Thrones, I'm not gonna give you storyline. No, I'm gonna give you kind of just comic relief opinion of the show, which anybody that watches the show will go, that is a very accurate description, Patrick. Game of Thrones was a show that if you got into it, it became very riveting. And you found yourself attached to characters that you loved. And there were also characters on that series that you wanted to see die a horribly grotesque, painful death because they deserved it, because they were bastards. Kind of sounds like professional wrestling a little bit, right? You have your heels that you love, like the guy in the poster behind Brian, which we might talk about him later tonight too. And then you have your heels, the heel 401, the guys you want to pay your hard-earned money to see them get their asses kicked. But here on Game of Thrones, you get attached to the good guy, like, for example, Robb Stark or Ned Stark in season 1, and they die. They all die. If you watch Game of Thrones, you know the episode The Red Wedding. The Reigns of Castamere episode. I think that was season 3, season 4, one of the two. Can't remember. But everybody dies. Everybody that you love dies in that episode. And this is what it feels like. Because it's like, okay, I loved Hit Row. They're all, metaphorically speaking, they're all dead. They were all at the Red Wedding, and the Boltons and the Freys and the Lannisters all fucked them over. I loved Karrion Kross. I loved Keith Lee. They were a part of the last group that got released. I loved Mia Yim. Scarlett as a package with Cross was awesome. Obviously B-Fab from the forgotten member of Hit Row. Just so. Oh, and Ember Moon and Frankie Monet. Here's something else I love. See, 1, 2. In the last 2 groups of releases, WWE has literally managed to release 3 entire families. Keith Lee and Mia Yim, Scarlett and Cross, Taya Valkyrie, and John Morrison. And it's November. Thanksgiving is in a couple of days, boys and girls. And we're doing this shit. I said this before in an episode 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it might have been the title. I'm gonna triple down on this and say it again. RJ was right. Everything that they're doing, 1, it makes no sense creatively. 2, it makes no sense from a business perspective because record profits. We have seen that on the reports from every one of their quarterly investor conference calls that they've had this year. Record profits. Sorry, needed to do that. But ethically, they're about as ethically sound as the Saudi Arabian government, which, by the way, may or may not be paying them billions of dollars every year. Wow, you know what? Maybe the new CEO of WWE should be the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I'm this irritated about this. None of this makes any sense for the simple fact that WWE made the bed that they are lying in right now by signing every freaking big name in the independents that they could get their hands on in the 2 to 3 years leading up to the birth of AEW. And now here we are, 2021, and they've released 80 people. And I'm just looking real quick, and damn it, there are a lot of people that have gone on to do some amazing things in other promotions. For example, Billy Kay and Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee are your reigning, defending Impact Knockout Division Tag Team Champions. Mickie James is pretty much being the OG that she is in Impact, NWA, Ring of Honor, which is about to close down, and everywhere else she damn well wants to go because she's one of the best female wrestlers of all time. Let's see. Who else? Nobody from there. Oh yeah, Malachi Black was released, and so was Ruby Soho, and let's see. Arturo Ruas, who you're now seeing on AEW Dark, and the team we now know is 2.0 in AEW. They're not doing too bad. Jonah just made his debut on Impact's most recent pay-per-view, whatever that one was, I can't remember, but he just showed up. Bobby Fish is kicking ass in AEW. Let's see who else. And then everybody else is still in their no competes. And then you hear rumors that at the end of the year, Kevin Owens, Kyle O'Reilly, and Johnny Gargano's contracts are coming up. And if you saw what happened, well, first off, if you've been watching NXT 2.0, two things. Number one, I'm sorry. And two, Kyle O'Reilly hasn't been seen around very much, has he? Which means one thing and one thing only. Which means at the beginning of the year, guess what we're going to get? We're going to get Bobby Fish, Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly back in the saddle again. And for that, I'm here for it. We're also going to get Kevin Owens going to AEW. Why? Because did you watch Survivor Series? He literally just dove out of the ring, took the count, took the piss, took the count out, and that was it. And let's see what happens on Wednesday night with the North American title match of Johnny Gargano. I would not be surprised if by February all three of those guys are not in AEW. And I don't think that impacts Candice LeRae in the least little bit. You know why? One, she's pregnant. Number two, after she has the baby, would not surprise me one damn bit if she just calls it quits. Like, all right, I'm good. I know I've talked a lot. I've got so many feelings about all of this because it just strikes me as just as we bought up all the stock we could, and now we don't know what to do with it. So now we're just going to hemorrhage it. And by hemorrhaging it the way they are, they're screwing people over left and right. 80 different times, by the way, this year. I'm done talking.
Well, thank you for letting me follow that bleak picture you've painted. Here's the thing. If you had told me 2 years ago, the way RJ tried to tell me 2 years ago, that I would be watching AEW television far more than I seek out WWE television, I would have said he was lying. But that's where I find myself. It's a bit of an existential crisis for me, because some of those names you mentioned, I am a fan of.
Me too.
You know for a fact that I'm a fan of Tegan Knox, and I just wish she could have stayed healthy enough for them to do something with her. But here's
She's
the
healthy.
point.
She's healthy right now. Her injuries were NXT. They just didn't do anything with her. They split her and Shotzi up, turned Shotzi heel, drafted her to Raw, and didn't do shit.
This is a point that I've heard brought up numerous places, numerous articles I've read. The emphasis on the bottom line does have a lot to do with it. But I also think, going back to the creative process for a moment, you don't have very many professional wrestling bookers anymore. You have people that have written for television. You have people that have written for miniseries and documentaries and stuff like that, who don't really know the first thing about what a professional wrestler tries to do when they come out there. And there's a reason that we keep going back to the stories that used to be told. There's a reason that I love queuing up the Iron Man match from Judgment Day 2000, because I love the story going into that. It's Rock against all odds, against the McMahon-Helmsley faction. How on earth is he supposed to? You were invested in that.
Yep.
What is he going to do, and what help does he have, and that sort of thing. There's a reason we go back to the Tommaso Ciampa Johnny Gargano rivalry, all the way running through NXT for the past 2+ years. There's a reason we go back to Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. Those were stories that resonate. There's a reason we go back to, the formation of the Bullet Club with Prince Devitt and all the different iterations that have gone, all the betrayals and all the double crosses and things like that.
There's a reason that we go back to the NWO.
Right. And that is the overriding sentiment that I get when I watch WWE programming, whether it's NXT 2.0 or whether it's main roster stuff. You and I were texting back and forth on Sunday night while we were watching Survivor Series, and I was presenting they ought to do this, and you were chastising me because, well, that would actually make sense, Brian.
Yeah.
That would actually make storyline sense instead of what we got. And there's don't get me wrong, folks, there's still good wrestling happening. The match of the night, there were 2 matches that stole the show Sunday night. And this will be the only time I talk about Survivor Series tonight, I promise. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's not worth talking about. Because I never thought I'd hear myself say this.
It was a shite pay-per-view.
Survivor Series has become inconsequential. I never thought I would say that. All the stuff that's gone down at Survivor Series, and the real ones know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go through it right now. But nothing of consequence happened except for 2 things. I learned that Randy Orton is freaking awesome. He passed Kane on Sunday night for the most. Well, I already knew that, but it confirmed that Randy Orton was awesome. They beat the Usos in an awesome tag team match, by the way. And Randy Orton officially became the man with the most pay-per-view appearances in WWE history, I believe. And then Charlotte and Becky went out and tore the house down in a match that was supposed to close the show. in the initial write-up of the match order, the run sheet for Survivor Series. And at the 11th hour, you even saw in the pre-show, oh, they're opening the match? I didn't know. They're opening the show? I didn't know that. They went out and said, follow that. And whatever you think of Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch at this point, they still are magic in the ring together, because I don't care if you think that's a work. There's some real life animosity there.
Oh yeah.
Because as Becky said in an interview, it's hard when you're trying to be the top woman in this industry. It's hard to look across the ring at Charlotte and say she's my friend. All that 4 horsewoman stuff from 4 years ago is done. It's donezo, as far as I'm concerned, because Charlotte is here, Becky's over here, and Becky wants to be over here, and she's got to go through Charlotte to get there. So a lot of that friendship stuff goes out the window, and I think there's some real hurt feelings there. But what was all anybody was talking about the next day was a stupid prop egg. That's all anybody was talking about. And I'm going to talk about Vince for a second. It's tone deaf when you roll up in a limousine and you get out in your 3-piece suit and your tie that your dad used to wear back in the day and stuff like that. And what's left of the roster, the hangers-on from the roster are out there, clapping and being sycophantic when you get out of the limo. And you got this egg that I could probably go to a Spirit Halloween and buy if I wanted to, was part of a Gandalf costume or something like that. And you parade it around in front of everybody as if it's, I don't know. I'm just going there. Let me go. You went off. You talked about Game of Thrones for 10 years. So hold on a second.
The Lord of the Egg.
Yes. And it just, I mean, the best line of the night was when Roman comes sauntering into the office and this egg is worth $100 million. And Roman goes, it's almost as much as my next contract's going to be, right? And he leaves. That was funny. But that's not what I want to be talking about. And I can't get away from it. You had great wrestling going on that, during the evening, and that nobody was talking about Becky and Charlotte. Nobody was talking about Randy Orton. They're talking about a stupid, bejeweled egg that they used as a push for Austin Theory. Was Austin Theory stole the thing? Oh, you get a title shot against Big E. Congratulations. I like your gusto. Get out of here, Vince. Go back to the hovel you crawled out of. Yes, Patrick?
I want to just kind of piggyback off of what you said, because there was something else with Survivor Series that pissed me off, because you mentioned, and something that came to my mind, and I didn't say as you were saying it, but you were talking about how you and I were texting throughout the show. And the first thought that went through my mind was, yeah, I regret that. Not regret texting you, regret texting you during that show. I shouldn't have watched that piece of crap. And here's why. Brian, I might be stealing your thunder, but I find the irony in me stealing your thunder on this very brilliant and very poetic. And
if you're about to do what I think you're about to do, I think it's a sign of growth that you are stealing my thunder.
Well, okay, cool. But also very poetic and better TV than WWE is writing. And this is all just organic, natural. Oh my God, it's organic content. Shocker there. Anyway, did you
That's why you turn into Wrestling with Egos every week, boys and girls.
Damn Skippy. Did you know Brian Aloysius Krigo? I know that's not your middle name, but we're going with that. Did you know, good sir, that this year's Survivor Series marked the 25th anniversary of the WWE debut of the man on the poster behind your left shoulder, The Rock?
I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, I heard it too. About 100 times. It's kind of, you could have literally put that on the list of the apron of the ring is the hardest part of the ring. Britt Baker is a dentist. Cody Rhodes can't challenge for the AEW World Title. You could have
Can't do
added
it.
this with how many times they mentioned the sumbitch. Video packages, all of the great moments that The Rock had at Survivor Series. You had a 25-man Rock Battle Royal. You change the order of the matches to have the main event being Big E and Roman, The Rock's cousin, who Vince made a reference to Roman's face. And the rumors, oh, and by the way, Roman was on Fallon? Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. He was on Jimmy Fallon the other night and mentioned, yeah, I'll fight The Rock. He doesn't want to fight me, but I'll fight The Rock. You're doing all of this. And I text Brent, I'm like, son of a bitch, they're going to do it. I can't believe it. They didn't do it.
And if you actually thought for a moment they were going to do it, then I pity you, because I knew my dad had a saying when I was growing up about the sports teams that I would follow and how they would always lose and stuff like that. And he goes, well, you know, son, I like to keep my expectations low so I don't get disappointed. That's how I went into Sunday night. I'm like, they're doing all this stuff, and I understand. One of the things I understand now is it's not just about the WWE wants to do something with The Rock. Dwayne Johnson now has got a lot of irons in the fire, as it were.
Oh, yeah.
And he can't just drop everything and come to Barclays Center to do a 5-minute promo with Roman Reigns, even if he wanted to. He's got media obligations, and he's got a production company, and he's doing movies, and he's doing press junkets for Red Notice and all that kind of stuff. He was on James Corden a couple of weeks ago. They did a carpool karaoke on a golf cart, and it was very entertaining.
Right.
But you begin to realize that the time for this to happen, it would have already happened if there hadn't been a pandemic, I think. I think it would have happened by now.
I agree, but here's the thing. If you're going to do it that much at Survivor Series, 25th anniversary, rock.
I understand.
If you're going to oversaturate it, you're building the anticipation. And when you don't deliver on that anticipation, and I'm about to use a phrase that you don't like, but I'm going to use it anyway because it makes sense. It's a constipated orgasm. I know, little off.
We're the classiest wrestling podcast there is, ladies and gentlemen.
Never said we were classy. Never once did I mention that this podcast was classy. And for the record, our listeners are not here because this is a classy podcast.
But here's I'll counter you on something really quick. I said when you in the lead into this little part of what you're talking about with The Rock, that I look at this as growth on my part, that I'm not the one bringing this up. Because we all know that I'm a mark for insert name. You know, here we're scrolling the list right now at the bottom of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, of all the people that, you know, I am a mark for. And yes, I am the biggest Rock fan that Patrick and RJ and Isaac know. But I said to myself, I remember consciously saying to myself Sunday night, I'm not going to fall for this. I'm not going to fall for this. Because WWE has played with my emotions far too much over the past 30 years of my life, 30 plus years of my life. And this time, I am proud to sit here tonight as we record this episode of Wrestling with Egos and tell you that I didn't fall for it. The pay-per-view cut out after a very entertaining Big E Roman Reigns match, by the way. They both came out looking like world beaters, which is what you want in a match that isn't for a title or anything. It's more for bragging rights. And I turned off the TV and I sat there on the couch and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I knew he wasn't going to show up, because if I had sat there on the edge of my couch all night in anticipation for him showing up and he didn't show up, then I would have had nobody to blame but myself. Because let's be honest, how often has WWE come through for me lately? Not bloody much.
Not. And you mentioned the quote from your dad. which also made me think of an old line from an old Gin Blossom song. I think the song was "Hey Jealousy." If you don't expect too much from me, you might not be let down.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Good song, by
That's
the way.
apropos.
And,
special thanks to Gin Blossoms for their sponsorship of Wrestling with the Egos. We appreciate you, boys.
But yeah, seriously, me, I got hooked. I'm like, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. Of course, they're not gonna do it. Asshats. You know why? Because, like I said to you in our text conversation, it makes too much sense. Now, let me ask you a question. Honest answer, because we're both watching more AEW than we are WWE right now.
Infinitely more.
If AEW was teasing this, I kind of want to go on a little tangent real quick, and I'm kind of going to answer for you, but I still want your
thoughts. That's not very nice.
because you'll have your own opinions and everything else. If AEW was going to tease something, like something monumental happening, and just dangle the carrot in front of you, dangle that in front of you and make little references and have a moment where they could easily build on it. Do you think that AEW would deliver on it? Yes, damn it, they did. It's called CM Punk.
Oh, I don't know, calling it the first dance, buying the rights to Cult of Personality, leading off the show with CM Punk instead of making us wait till the end.
Kenny Omega wearing Cookie Monster shirts.
All of those things.
Darby Allin saying, I'll be at Dynamite in Chicago, even if you're the best in the world. I mean, look, it's as simple as this. And we talked about it going into that Dynamite, that episode. Was it Dynamite or was it Rampage?
Dynamite. Well, he debuted. Well, was it? I think it was the debut. No, we did a watch along for Rampage. That Rampage. Yeah, that was a Rampage. The first dance was in Chicago. Like the first Rampage was somewhere else, but then it was like the second or the third Rampage they ever did was in Chicago. And you guys got footage of me shedding a tear over the fact that he came back, and
So here's my thing, and we talked about it going into that episode of Rampage. If they don't deliver on this, oh my God, this is, this goes on the list of crimes against wrestling. I'm going to be honest, WWE, in the span of a 3-hour-long show, 3.5, however many hours long that piece of crap pay-per-view was, in that time, they built that tease as much as AEW did over the course of 6 weeks. One difference. One company gives a damn, and the other one gives a damn about their audience of one.
Yeah.
And he probably thought that was good shit, pal. Vince, by the way, no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was, I'll say it again, it was tone deaf, and I'm not going to take credit for the tone deafness of stepping out of a stretched limousine in front of what's left of your roster, the underbelly of your roster, and parading around,
How many of those guys will make it to the end of the year? Wait, better question, real quick, Brian. Just a yes or no answer. Will there be more releases before the end of the year?
Yes. And now I'll expound on it a little bit. I know you said just yes or no, but now we're getting to the point that I was afraid of. Now we're getting to the point where there's already been names that we mentioned that you and I said we both cared about quite a bit because we took a shine to them, we support them, we bought their T-shirts and things like that. I fear that now the releases are going to get a little more seismic than Drake Maverick. No offense. Tegan Knox, no offense meant, but you're running out of people to release where you don't get that, pardon my French, holy shit factor. I'm afraid of
time. You're saying pardon my French, and I've been going off all freaking night long.
Because this is me we're talking about. I'm the baby face, and the baby faces don't usually use such colorful language, but this is still the elephant in the room for me.
I'm an anti-hero. Get it right.
That's perfectly fine. But no, I think there is going to be another round, poorly timed, and it's getting to the point with me now where there aren't many more people you can release before you start getting at the root of what are you doing? Why are you releasing her? Why are you releasing him? You know who I'm scared is going to get released?
I've got a name too, and I was going to ask you, give me a name of someone that you think it's gonna be gone by the end of the year, and not contract expired gone.
Here's who I'm scared of that they're going to get ready to release next. Bayley. And here's why. You look at what Charlotte and Becky are doing, and you look at what Sasha has done every time she's come back, and who has always been the redheaded stepchild of the Four Horsewomen? Bayley. Even though she had a record-breaking SmackDown Women's Championship reign, and she was a pandemic MVP for crying out loud. Ding dong, hello. But I'm just, yes, I'm just scared now that it's going to be a what have you done for me lately case with her. I've been rehabbing, I've been injured. What do you want from me? Well, sorry, you just haven't been around, so we're going to wish you all the best. And I would love, you talk about Charlotte walking into AEW, I would love for Bayley to walk out of that curtain and get right up in Britt Baker's face and says, you ain't never wrestled anybody like me. Let's go. I mean, I love our friend of show, Thunder Rosa, and I know we need to figure that out first, but Bayley and Britt would be best of 7, shut up and take my money.
Look, I love Thunder Rosa as much as anybody else on this show, but I have to be honest. If Bayley gets released, sorry. Nope. I don't want. If Bayley gets released, I don't want Britt and Thunder Rosa anymore. I want Britt and Davina Rose.
But that's what scares me. And the other one, I'll just come right out and say it. The other one that scares me now is we're getting into Finn Balor territory, because it's clear that they still do not know what to do with that man.
I've got two.
Taking selfies with Austin Theory, for Christ's sake. You do not know what to do with that man.
I've got two that I'm worried about, and they're neither one of yours. And neither one of them makes sense, but both of them make sense at the same time. Here's the least seismic one of them first. Ricochet. They don't know
what to do with him.
No, but guess what? That dude could go to, you know how they referred to WWE as New York. They referred to WCW as Atlanta. You know, Ricochet could go to Jacksonville and could just blow shit up.
Yep.
Put him in a group. Him, Lio Rush, Dante Martin.
Yeah. And let's have Rey Fenix versus Ricochet for a while. Who's your other one? Now I'm scared.
Oh yeah, you should be. Xavier Woods.
It makes perfect sense, because they let him have moments and they diminish the moment and they cheapen the moment.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Or they piss all over the moment.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think that'll happen this year. But and here's another reason why I think it's likely to happen more, maybe first quarter of 2022. Have you noticed that there has not been a whole lot, if any, content on Up, Up, Down, Down as of late?
The content has been on other channels where he just kind of shows up randomly to help his friends out and stuff like that.
Right. Well, he's also Austin Creed is also a cast member on G4, yes, but Up Up Down Down has not put out any content, and the reason being is that the content creators of Up Up Down Down, people like Jessamine Duke, people like Tyler Breeze, who has a an Up Up Down Down contract, which is why he's still on the banner for the Facebook page. Those guys are holding content because they're trying to force WWE to pay Austin Creed for being the content creator and content manager for the entire thing. He's not making any money off of it.
Nope.
Because of this holdout, they're going to kill the channel. They'll kill the channel and release him. And that will be seismic.
Yeah.
And it will not just be seismic in the world of professional wrestling. It'll be seismic in the gaming community as well, which, by the way, is almost as bad in terms of like assholes on social media as professional wrestling. And the only thing worse than wrestling Twitter is what, Brian?
Star Wars Twitter.
Ding!
And I know a little bit more about that than I used to because I'm kind of dabbling in gaming Twitter a little bit. You know about this because there's a couple channels that I watch. You know, there's some folks over in England that play board games together, and they debut new stuff. And there's a really cool game called Blood on the Clock Tower that I'm a big time fan of. But I know how huge the esports / gaming industry is, and I know that Xavier Woods has a big time footprint in that. Austin Creed is a legend in that. Yes. You know, he's got a lot of content creators and friends over there. He'd have no problem finding work. And I know that if he were to leave WWE and go to Impact or go to AEW, they would let him work.
Oh, no. Don't even say the I word in this one. WWE, I want to point out something. Austin Creed was recently on an episode of Attack of the Show on G4. And as it wrapped up, he grabbed a whiteboard and a marker and wrote and spun it around, and it said, "Get well, Kenneth." And he was referencing one Kenny Omega. If Austin Watson were to be released from WWE, only one spot going. Because hang on. And it's not just because of his wrestling. It's also because of the gaming community inside of AEW. Because you don't just have Kenny. You got Aubrey Edwards. You got Miro. You got... And one quarter of Departy.
Yeah, I mean, Evil Uno has a channel. Evil Uno and Chugs are on all the time, you know, doing stuff. They just had, I forget, was it a soccer tournament earlier in the fall that had like 24 guys in it or something like that playing.
Finals were Silver and Miro, and shockingly, Miro lost.
Yeah, so I mean, but here's, I guess the question going forward is, at what point, or is there a point at which WWE is just going to stop whistling through the graveyard? They're just going to keep doing business the way they see fit. It's like we talked about over the summer. Are they too big to fail? And you said the answer is probably yes, because of the infrastructure and because of all the things that they have going for them.
And I still stand by that. They're too big to fail because they have the business model in place where they're going to make money hand over fist no matter what they do, especially with that blood money contract over in Saudi Arabia.
And the TV deals and the merchandising and, you know, the promotional stuff and
the deal with Peacock and everything else. They have what they need. Literally, I don't even want to say this. They could cut their roster down to 30 people and they'd still be fine. Forget the brand extension. If you're going to continue the brand extension, 60 people. But you know, at that point, just. And my question for you, and we'll quickly move on to one more thing. I'm still feeling like talking a little bit more, even though I'm not feeling. The last week, boys and girls, I haven't been really feeling the best. I got some medical stuff going on, and that's none of your damn business. But yeah, I told B, we're going to do the show tonight. Let's make it kind of short. We're going to go as long as I can until I'm starting to feel like I got to lay down.
Well, apparently you're feeling froggy, so let's take advantage of that.
I'm not feeling great right now, but it's adrenaline right now. So it's adrenaline, piss, and vinegar. Anger is a powerful part of the dark side of the Force, boys and girls. I'm not a Jedi. I'm a Sith. Anyway.
Your next Wrestling with Egos t-shirt, boys and girls, is going to have that plastered on the back of it.
Yeah. Anger is a pathway to the dark side. Hey. Let me ask you a question. Which promotion would be easier to book right now?
See, for me, and we kind of dabbled in this in the pre-show meeting and stuff like that, and I started to give you my answer. I still feel like there's more meat on the AEW bone.
Okay.
Now, let me put some conditions on that question. Are you having me come in and just say, here's the talent you have to work with, go to work? Or am I assuming the reins of what's already going on and say, keep going? Or do I have just a blank board to start with?
And whichever promotion you choose, you step in at their next television show and you go from there.
Then it's AEW, because
you are not allowed to take the eraser to anything. You have to take what they have given and go.
Well, then it's definitely AEW because, well, and here's the thing. We've had discussions like this before on the show where you're saying, okay, Brian, you're the booker. Like, I feel like we talked about this when we did our draft special last year when we did the graphics and everything like that.
Yes.
Do you remember what I said would be the first thing I would do with the talent?
No, I don't.
I would sit down with each of them and I would say, what stories do you want to tell? Because I am smart enough to know that I don't know that much about professional wrestling, boys and girls, and I cannot pretend to get inside the head of Darby Allin or the head of MJF or the head of Bryan Danielson or the head of Hangman Page and know what stories they want to tell. I want to sit down with Thunder Rosa and say, what stories are you intent on telling and who do you want to tell them with? Well, I think Chris Statlander and I could do some great business together. I think Britt Baker and I could do some great. Okay, let's do that. Same thing with Omega. Same thing with the Hybrid 2. Same thing with 2.0. Same thing with, all the tag teams, FTR and the Lucha Brothers and stuff. That would be the backbone of what I would do. And if I had said WWE had more meat on the bone, I'd be doing that too. Because I'd understand that Kevin Owens is about to walk. And I'd sit down with Kevin and I'd say, what stories do you want to tell? And he might laugh at me and say, it's too late for that. But at least I talked with him. That would be the backbone of Brian as a booker. I would not pretend to be the all-knowing, omniscient one and, stuff like that. So that's where I go with that one.
Okay. I'm going to surprise you on this. For me, right now, I think the easiest promotion to book would be WWE. And here's why. Way too many established stars already tailor-made for me to just start and go. I mean, let's be honest. Is there anyone in AEW that has the star power and the guaranteed trajectory? Like, anybody with a half of a freaking brain knows where we're all gonna go with Roman Reigns. Is there anybody in AEW you can say that with? No. So Roman is no pun intended, the head of the table on SmackDown. I do the exact same freaking thing on Raw with Seth Rollins, especially after what happened last night with that fan getting pissed off and rushing his ass. By the way, massive props to Seth Rollins for not kicking the ever-loving shit out of that guy. I am a firm believer that if you cross the barrier, you deserve to die.
The way Dax Harwood did to that guy that attacked Bret Hart. The forearm shiver to the back of the head.
Brilliant. And that's why FTR will forever always be in my heart. I love those guys.
Top guys doing top guy things.
Damn right. But there are too many tailor-made stars. And essentially you got one for each division on both shows. Roman, Seth. You can create faces to work with them. Because let's be honest, the heels are more important, because even though you're not a Star Wars fan, I'm going to rip off something that I saw Bully Ray say on Twitter earlier today. Without Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker's just a whiny bitch from Tatooine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So Roman, Seth, awesome. Women, Charlotte, Becky, awesome. Tag teams, Usos, Street Profits, awesome. And I go from there. You can pretty much insert someone else to work with them. Rollins, Finn. Rollins and
Big E.
Oh, Rollins and Lashley. Rollins and Big E. You can do anything with any, and honestly and truly, depending on how good your heel is, you can even turn another heel face and get them over by how good your main heel is. Who is your opinion? Who's the second best heel on SmackDown? Men, from the men. Second best heel.
Put me on the spot. Trying to think of who else is on SmackDown. Isn't that sad? This is how far we've fallen, boys and girls.
I'll just throw one out there. Someone that I know is a heel. You could turn Sheamus face and have a hell of a program with Sheamus and Roman.
True.
Because Roman and Paul and the Usos would get Sheamus over and get Sheamus to the point where he's now playing at the level of Roman. You could turn, if Randy Orton were a heel, you could do the same thing with Orton, because you've got someone. You could turn AJ Styles face right now and have him and Rollins and off to the races.
Yep.
Everything in WWE is already set up to be almost stupid proof. But the problem is, the only way
everybody else is too stupid to realize it.
Exactly. The only way you can F up something stupid proof is by being stupid. And there are a bunch of asshats that are running WWE. You could literally take the offices of both companies, AEW and WWE, and flip them. And Tony Khan would work. Tony Khan, the Bucks, Kenny, and Cody would work magic with what WWE has. And Vince McMahon would run AEW right into the shithole.
Yeah, it's
Tell me I'm wrong.
It's to the point. It's to the point with me where it's like you had said earlier this summer that you don't make it a point to sit down and watch any of the WWE shows as they're happening anymore. You catch the highlights, or you DVR it and you fast forward and scan. Oh, wait a minute, that looked like something involving Finn. Let me back up and see what that was. You know, oh wait, that's something with Paul Heyman. Could just cut a promo. Let me see what he had to say. You know, whereas, you know, when I sit down on a Wednesday night now and I watch Dynamite, I'm not skipping much of anything. Yeah, you put the remote off to one side because you know you're not going to need it.
Nope.
So
I get up and go to the bathroom during the commercial breaks, even if we're in picture. But
yeah, I still don't like picture in picture. You can't get me to come around on that.
I hate it. But there are 5 things that I stop for in WWE. Finn, anything involving the bloodline, Big E, Drew, Charlotte, Becky.
Come on, you queue up some Rick Boogs when he's out there playing.
Oh yeah, and Boogs is a national treasure. And honestly, and surely, I don't watch SmackDown. I listen to it.
Yep.
Why?
Because they struck gold with Pat McAfee.
Damn it. But for me, especially this line of releases and what they did at Survivor Series and that stupid mucker fuzzing egg. It's just like, okay. That's what got me to the point where I was thinking Game of Thrones, Red Wedding. I get attached to a character, they die. I'll give you one more great example of build up, fart. You seen those new vignettes for Xia Li, the Protector?
Yeah.
60 days.
Yep.
From when she debuts, I'll give her 60 days.
Because it's a neat way to introduce you to her. It's actually quite novel. I don't know that they've ever done that with anybody before.
They kind of did with Neville.
Yeah.
Kinda. But no, seriously, from the day she debuts, I'll give her 60 days before she's future endeavored. Because they'll F it up.
Yeah.
They'll F it up, or they'll put some jock strap on her face like they did Karrion Kross or Dominic Dijakovic or Dio Madden or
they'll make her come to the ring with a comic book.
Yeah, sweet mother of God, it looks like they gave Carmella Karrion Kross's mask. I swear to God, it looked like it. I'm like, oh, for the love of God, really?
I saw it with a side-by-side of Kane and Carmella. What it looks like on the internet when it actually arrives.
F-I-D. Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh.
Hey, well, gee whiz, that might be a sign.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. I got to go check on that green bean casserole and make sure that it's not burning. So.
Green bean casserole. 3 of the
I
most.
just came up with the perfect way to put a ribbon on it this week. Give me one thing from the world of professional wrestling that you are the most thankful for heading into the Thanksgiving celebration. And if you say the egg, you're banned. It's not happening.
First off, I'm not banning myself from my own freaking channel, but I see where you're going.
I will.
The one thing I'm thankful for, I'm thankful for most in wrestling in 2021, just like in 2020, where the feel-good story of the year was the return of Edge, Big E winning the title. Seeing Big E as WWE champion brings a smile to my face. I love that. How about you?
I am thankful that this is the year that I really have broadened my scope of the content that I'm consuming. And I realize now that there's a whole lot of great wrestling out there.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm becoming a lot more acutely aware of it, like I said, as we get prepped for our Iggy Awards coming up in a few weeks here. There's just so many banger matches out there all over the world, in Japan and in Mexico and in Jacksonville, and even still in Connecticut. You know, they still put out a couple, but I understand that there's a lot more to it than just what WWE is doing, and for that I am very much grateful.
For the record, my honorable mention on thankfulness would have been the return of CM Punk, but Big E as WWE champion.
I'm also thankful they didn't make me wait any longer to give Hangman the title, because, geez.
Yeah. Oh, but that was such a beautiful damn storyline. It was just freaking perfect. Welcome
to Full Gear 2026, and is this the night that Hangman finally, hey, screw you.
It's like Schiavone back during Monday Nitro, where he would always say at the beginning of every freaking Monday Nitro, this could be the most important night in the history of our sport. Literally, guys, every freaking night would be like, there it is. It's
yeah, like take a shot. Fill out your bingo cards.
Yep. Your bingo card of one thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some good things to be thankful for, but there's also been a lot of, honestly, even though it's more closely tied to Christmas, I think I have a title for this week's episode. It is not necessarily Wrestling Game of Thrones, more like Wrestling Festivus. And this has been the airing of grievances.
And we got a lot of them.
Oh, we got a lot of them. And probably not done. And never mind, I'm going to make a really bad joke here.
Well, if I may, then that seems like a good as time as any to put a ribbon on the show. On behalf of everyone associated with Wrestling with Egos, we want to say thank you very much for however you consume the show, whether it is on Google, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on the YouTubes, or that Intergalactic Radio, which they're running a Thanksgiving sale. If you want to subscribe to Intergalactic Radio, just follow the link in the description. It's your feedback that makes us better. I've said that over and over again, and we appreciate all your support. We appreciate all the listens and all the views. Have yourself a fantastic Thanksgiving. Get you a double heaping of that stuffing and mashed potatoes and gravy. That's what I'm going for.
Don't forget the mac and cheese.
Yes, if you're into that sort of thing on Thanksgiving. I don't usually do that on Thanksgiving because there's just so many other things. It's like one more pot to get dirty. I love mac and cheese. Don't get me wrong.
Lord, please forgive Brian for what he just said and committing that blasphemy.
I know you grew up in the South, and that's what the Southerners do on Thanksgiving. But up in Buffalo, there was not a dish of mac and cheese on the table at Thanksgiving. I'm more used to the green bean casserole and the stuffing and the cranberry sauce and the pumpkin pie afterwards with the Cool Whip on top of it. And you know.
Hey, get us out of here. Get us out of here, and I'll have the final line as we're going out.
Oh, goody.
Oh, yeah.
So, for everyone associated with the show, for our wives and significant others, for the disembodied voices of Isaac and RJ who are not with us this week, and for Patrick, who hopefully the next time we come to you will have a smile on his face, because that's what we do at Wrestling with Egos. We put smiles on faces. That's a fake smile, and you know it. You're over here talking about red weddings and stuff like that.
Hey,
this
Brian,
has been Wrestling with Egos.
I'm smiling right now because as soon as you say the catchphrase, I'm going to say something really bad, knowing full well that I'm going to edit myself and censor it out because I'm going to say it just to get a reaction out of you.
No goody. This has been Wrestling with Egos, and despite what's about to happen, this is why we love professional wrestling.
You know, instead of a Festivus poll, it's going to be a really big gigantic because we're all getting